I wanted to share with you a thought. We called this learning Chinuch through the Sefer HaChinuch. And there are a few thoughts that popped into my head that I wish I would have shared right away, but I think that it's certainly not too late to share them this morning. The idea of Chinuch is, dedication. And we use the word dedication in two ways, but I think they mean the exact same thing. They, like you have a new building, so you dedicate and say, hey, we're dedicating this place to be our shul, we're dedicating this to be our Beit Midrash, whatever it might be. And there's dedication, which often speaks to a level of loyalty, that there is a level of consistency that is there. And we know that when it comes to raising children, both are required. We need to be consistent and there. And at the same time, we need to know that what we're involved in is something very precious and elevated. A person could look at being involved with children as a task. And when we look at children as a task on our to-do list, we're missing the boat, right? They're not at all the same as a task of doing the laundry or taking out the garbage. It takes a level of recognition that what I'm doing right now is the most important thing. A teacher said to me, who has a number of little children at home, she said, I cannot imagine a more clear message from Hashem to spend time with your family. And here we are doing schoolwork, and we're all getting busy with this online virtual school. And of course, there's a lot of truth to what she's saying. But what she really was saying is that she wants to be dedicated to her children. And when they're home and she's engaged in the other work, it's hard. And so that's what Chinuch is. Now, the Sefer HaChinuch has a very important idea. He says it a number of times, including regarding a mitzvah in this week's parsha. And I want to just share the Sefer HaChinuch idea you might have heard of before, and then take it maybe, in my mind, one step deeper. The Sefer HaChinuch says a line of Adam nifal kafi pu'ulotav. A person becomes what they do. That means we can't just be okay with, oh, I'm a good person, I'm a warm person, I'm a giving person, and I might as well take care of myself and think that in my heart, I'm good. Rather, you have to actually give, and then you become a giver. You have to say the kind words, and then you become a kind person. You have to be a sincere person, then you become, then you become sincere words and follow up with them. Then you become an honest, trustworthy person. And when a person, right, how does a person become a better davener? By saying the words with feeling, not by just studying nice texts about it. It gives us nice background information, but the actual improved davener is the person who, during davening, focuses on that I'm talking to the creator, supervisor of the world, and these things make a difference. Adam nifal kifipulotav, we become who we are by the actions that we do, not by the person we want to assume that we are, and sometimes that can be a positive or a negative. Sometimes we look at ourselves too poorly and then think about all the good actions that we've done. So that's an idea the Sefer HaChinuch says, and I'm sure that as we continue learning together, we're going to see that in a number of contexts. I want to take it one step deeper in my mind, which is to say that we as people are important or significant because we make decisions. And there's no such a thing as a decision that has only good in it or only bad in it. Meaning that whenever, let's say, a person makes a poor decision, take something simple, they decide that, I don't know, they're going to smoke, they're going to take some illicit drugs, whatever it is. So that's a bad decision. It's the wrong choice. However, they now have the ability to talk and help somebody else who's been through whether it was the depression that caused them to get there, whether it was the peer pressure that they felt the need to fit in, that somebody who never made that bad decision in their life won't be able to do. And you have an ability as a person to recognize that every decision carries with it good and bad. Like sometimes people talk about the difference between a person who lives a more isolated life, a chassid, versus somebody who's more out in the world, we'll use the word modern Orthodox, which is better. And I think that, to me, it's a little bit of a childish conversation, which is better. A person has to make a decision for themselves, but both will carry with them significant positives and significant challenges, right? If you're living isolated, you have a much stronger identity, and people are going to know who they are in a much better, deeper way. And they're going to look at the other as being less than them, almost always. They're going to struggle with being able to assimilate and communicate with people from outside of their community. And at the same time, what we all know is that someone who's in the modern world, yes, they're able to relate better to the other, and they'll have a greater understanding and appreciation of the world. And they're going to struggle with identity because everybody else seems to have an identity as well. So if I'm out in the world, I'm going to be impacted by them. So which is right, which is wrong? There are wonderful people who are doing both. But what's important for our discussion here on the Sefer HaChinuch is that the decisions that we make are what we and our children become. And I want to give an analogy so that we could understand it well. A person who, let's use the first example, might be a little simpler. A person who smokes until such time as they quit, they will be a smoker. When they decide to use that negative decision in a way that will help others, they will become a helper. The decisions are who we become. And it's not a box, it's not limiting because you have a new decision each time, but you are becoming that person more and more based on the decisions that you are making. So when the Sefer HaChinuch says, Adam nifal kefi pulotav, a person becomes what their actions are, it really is a very deep idea. It means that the decisions that I'm making each and every day are the ones that are shaping me and ultimately my children. Because when I'm dedicated to my children, so then they're going to see who I am. So I'm wondering if I'm being clear as I'm saying it. I'm not sure. So I'll try to think, but if someone has a question, maybe that'll help clarify it as well.
I have one.
Yeah, please.
I wanted to know, you said at the beginning the name of the course. Can you pronounce it? Chinuch. You said it means like loyalty or responsibility?
So I use the word dedication. And what I meant by that is that there's two pieces to being dedicated. You dedicate a building and you say this is really important, and dedicated is a level of loyalty. So in order to raise children, you need to know those two things, that A, what I'm involved in is something very special. We're involved in something much more than just tasks. And B, at the same time, it needs us to be dedicated, us to be loyal to them. And that's really crucial.
Okay. The other question is there an online version of this book that you know a link to?
Sure. If you go to Sefaria.
Yes.
Yeah, go to Sefaria. They have like everything, and it's available in Hebrew and English. You certainly could use the Sefaria link, and that certainly should help you be able to follow along with the mitzvah that we're doing. Yeah, maybe I'll put it attachment as well for the next time.
Thank you so much.
Sure, not at all. So that, right. So the piece one that I shared was about dedication. I'm glad that you asked about that. And then the second piece I was sharing is this challenge of Adam Nifal Kifi Pulotav, that a person becomes what they do. And what I wanted to communicate was that every decision has, in this world, every decision has good parts and bad parts, right? In Olam Haba, in the world to come, God made it in such a way that there'll be things that are all good. We don't have such a thing in this world. Everything good in this world, you're sitting and learning Torah, you can't think of something better to do than that, but it also means that you're not involved with other people at that time, right? There's, when I say negative, I don't mean wrong. I just mean that we're not God. We don't have everything good. We do trade-offs, we make decisions, and they make a difference. And what will impact our kids most is when they see that we're following up on those decisions, because that's who we become. When our best way to impact our children is through modeling, not necessarily what we tell them. That's nice, but what's much more impactful are the way we model. We model our midot, our character. We model what are our priorities. We model what it is that we expect from them, because we expect that from ourselves. When they see those decisions that are being made, both the positive of it and the reality of the negative consequences of it, and they see that we care about those negative consequences of it, and they make a difference to us. So then I think that's our best way to make wholesome children. Of course, whenever I say that we have that level of control, we of course remind ourselves many times over that a person can do everything wrong and have the most beautiful children, right? And vice versa. We don't want to talk about the negative, but right, we know that is for sure possible. But we work with a world of teva, of nature, and we have to try our very best when it comes to learning what are the causes and effects of our behaviors, our chinuch with our children. This week's parsha talks about karbanot, and there are a lot of mitzvot when it comes to karbanot. Interestingly enough, when the Sefer HaChinuch talks about it, and maybe we'll see this tomorrow, I'll open it up in the Hebrew English for everyone to see. The Sefer HaChinuch takes us back to the mitzvah in Truma of building the Mishkan, which is really building the Mikdash, right. the temple. That is the mitzvah. And he spent a lot of time over there explaining what's going on. And I feel like the framework of understanding that our decisions make us who we are helps us appreciate the it helps us appreciate what level of impact we have on our children. So that's just a thought for today. We'll probably deal with that concept a lot more in the future. And yeah, I think that at that point we'll open it up and we'll talk about the different types of karbanot, which is important, the greater goal of why it is that karbanot are understood to be effective, because it's so foreign to us, and maybe even deeper, we'll understand what we could do in today's day and age, since we don't have karbanot. What does it mean? We could daven, or we could do something different. What can we really take away from the messages that we'll see in the Sefer HaChinuch?